Good evening. What is happening during these days on the planet Earth? The event provokes 750 crore people, that is 7.5 billion people. We are provoked to examine what we have been doing, what we are doing, what we are going to do. So when we examine our human journey, we go back as far as 4 million years. According to Dr. Louis Leakey, he is the father of the modern anthropology. He puts human evolution back to 4 million years. That is 40 lakhs years ago, humans evolved in East Africa. So the first species, we call it Australopithecus afarensis. That was the first species about 3.5 million years ago. First time stood on two legs and walked on two legs. And then came Australopithecus boisei. Then came different species, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthal, Homo cro-magnon, Homo sapiens, now Homo sapiens. So this is the human journey for the past 4 million years. When we examine our human journey, our ancestors lived a life of ecological balance. We can call it ecological use, which denotes the sustainable use or the balancing lifestyle. They did not abuse anything because resources are so vast. Only few people exist at that time, maybe only 2 million people on the whole planet. I'm talking about some 3 million years ago. So planet was very big and humans were very small. The carrying capacity of the earth is very small when you compare with humans. So it was a balance. You take, again, ecology gave, you take. So you are not destroying anything. So we live most of the time in the ecological use phase or stage. And probably the abuse started around 1.5 million years ago. A species called Homo habilis, in English it is called handyman, one who invented stone tools or maybe invented fire too. So these two are human early inventions, and science and technology is born. So immediately after the invention of the science and technology, that's meaning fire and stones, humans started to abuse. They started to burn. They started to kill animals with stone tools. So that continued for millions of years in a moderate way. The abuse started 1.5 million years ago. So slowly it came to the modern times around 1850. That is Industrial Revolution. The abuse, ecological abuse, was pushed to the extreme. Pushed to the extreme. The burning of fossil fuels, all big carbon footprint. The billboard on London streets was displaying these words, that is, bigger the better. Bigger the better. Big houses, Big refrigerators, big cars, big bank balance, big economic growth, big family, lot of children, big carbon footprint, and big body, obesity. Everything was big. Bigger, the better. The abuse started. Not only you abused the earth, ecology and environment, you abused your own body, mind, and soul. You abused human ecology. And then came Green Revolution in 1960s. We dumped poison in the soil, and we are eating poisonous food right now. Genetically modified food items. 75 to 80% of the food what we eat is not natural. It's GM foods, genetically modified foods. Remember that. What goes around comes around. You put poison out there on the soil or in the soil, doesn't remain there. It ends up in your body. What goes around comes around. You're not poisoning the earth, you're poisoning yourself and the future generations. So we are in the ecological abuse stage. Jesus gives a beautiful parable on this ecological abuse in the Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 12, verse 16 to 21. That rich fool parable. Jesus told them this parable. The ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, "What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops." Then he said, "This is what I'll do. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones." The birth of science and technology and the greed. And Jesus continues, "And there I will store my surplus grain. I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." Merry. But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself?" This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich toward God. Hey, this is a parable of human abuse, how we abuse profit making. And we think that we are going to live forever. My family, my wife, me, self-interest. But God is telling, you will not continue, you are going to die. Prophet Amos already told in the Old Testament, you will build houses, you shall not live in them. You shall plant vineyards of grapes, but you will not drink wine out of them. No, no, no. Yes. So we build science and technology. We build factories. We build beautiful architectures, roads, factories, temples, whatnot, Taj Mahals. But we are not going to be here to enjoy them. You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Pope Francis also talks about a lot of abuse, human abuse, in the environment, in the chapter of 3 of Laudato Si, the human roots of our ecological crisis. I'm not entering into that. The talk will become bigger. But now we come to the third stage, that is renewal, ecological renewal. And COVID-19 has made us to think about our past, how we were living in ecological balance and we drifted into abuse and we destroyed every ecosystem. And now COVID-19 is asking us to come back to ecological use again. That is called renewal. Renewal. So Pope Francis in Laudato Si, he writes brilliantly about the renewing the environment. For example, the article number 195 of Laudato Si reads as follows. It talks about ecological renewal. The principle of the maximization of profits, frequently isolated from other considerations, reflects a misunderstanding of the very concept of the economy. As long as production is increased, little concern is given to whether it is at the cost of future resources or the health of the environment. As long as the clearing of the forest increases production, no one calculates the losses entailed in the desertification of the land, the harm done to biodiversity, or the increased pollution. In a word, businesses profit by calculating and paying only a fraction of the cost involved. Yet only when the economic and social cost of using up shared environmental resources are recognized with transparency and fully borne by those who incur them, not by other peoples or future generations, can those actions be considered ethical. An instrumental way of reasoning which provides a purely static analysis of realities in the service of present needs is at work whether resources are allocated by the market or by state central planning. Actually, that paragraph talks more about abuse of our economy and politics and science and technology than renewal. But the next paragraph, 202, paragraph talks about renewal. Let me read it for you. Many things have to change course, but it is we human beings above all who need to change. We lack an awareness of our common origin, of our mutual belonging, and of a future to be shared with everyone. This basic awareness would enable the development of new convictions, new attitudes, and forms of life. A great cultural, spiritual, and educational challenge stands before us. And it will demand that we set out on a long path of renewal. Pope Francis writing about renewal in the 6th chapter of Laudato Si, where he gives 3 things. If you follow these 3 things or 3 proposals, then renewal will happen automatically. One is ecological education, another one is ecological spirituality, the last one is ecological lifestyle. So these are the 3 proposals that can take us back to ecological use again. In other words, we can live in balance with Mother Earth and we can live in equilibrium. I think COVID-19 has given this window of opportunity. I think COVID-19 is not a destructive event, it's a creative event. Those who have eyes to see, see it. Those who have ears to hear, hear it. Thank you.